Everybody is dealing with something. And that's really why I want to share these stories, because the more stories we tell, the more people can relate to them and hopefully we can help, get through their own struggle. So welcome to Tattoos of My Soul podcast. I have my first repeat guest. Yay. Alexis Fourman is back for the second time. As you guys might have remembered from the first podcast, she is my close personal friend, but also my personal trainer. And so her and I have been talking a lot lately just about like the whole back to school routine, and everybody is always kind of struggling. It seems like people struggle with getting in a routine for their workout, their exercise, their healthy eating. I mean, I know that's a struggle for me. It's a challenge to do all of that. And so we were thinking, hey, let's do a podcast on kind of the things that help us, in hopes that it can help other women, men, but it seems like a lot of moms struggle with this kind of stuff. So that's why we're together today. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming in. So we are going to talk about routine and healthy eating and all that. But the first thing I wanted to ask you is, in order to get in a routine, in order to be consistent with something, you have to have a motivator. You have to have something that's driving you to do that. So I wanted to start off with, what is your favorite thing about exercising or working out?
Oh, man. So I can't probably say one favorite thing, but they're kind of lumped together. For me, it's that sense of accomplishment, but I also want to use the word like empowerment and the energy. So that I get from it, the accomplishment that, I got it done. I know that it was good for me. And then the energy that I get from it, I know by now, I've been doing it long enough. I know that I have that sustaining energy, and what that does for me the rest of the day, whether it's at work or how I treat other people, my energy and my vibe towards them, my family. But then just that empowerment, whether, it's that I just finished a workout, or did I crush that workout? Did I increase weight? So that's what it gives to me,
Yeah, absolutely. So I would agree with that, because I know when I get done with a workout, it is a sense of accomplishment. It's kind of like, okay, I can check that off the list. And now I can go about my day. And I like to do mine. I know a lot of people struggle with the time of day, when they can fit it in. I personally, and I know you do a lot of the time too, get it done in the morning, because then you're not having to worry about it. When am I going to fit it in later today? When am I going to squeeze it in between all the other different things that come up, every day with our busy lives. So,
I mean, and fitting the workout in is mentally wrapping your head around that is the hardest, one of the hardest parts. The second hardest part is getting to the workout, whether it's at home in your basement or to the gym. It's not the workout. Most of the time. It's, the excuses of, when do I get it in? And when does it work best for me? And it's not going to be the same for everyone.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing we talk about. The excuses and fitting it in and creating that routine. So when do you, how do you know when you're going to work out? Each day, each week? Yeah.
Well, I pretty much got it mapped out in my weekly routine. It's these hours. And for me, it's early, it's the earlier, the better. I think I see you at 8:30, I guess, right now. And sometimes I get it done earlier when I need to. But for me, it's always earlier in the morning, because I know if I don't get it done, the chances of me doing it later in the day get slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And so I just kind of said, once the kids are off to school and once I've got all of that stuff taken care of, this is my hour, and I'm allotting it to myself. And I'm not going to ever really schedule anything during that time unless I absolutely have to. Now, obviously, stuff comes up, doctor's appointments or things we've been dealing this week with the early dismissal from school. It's we get into school and then they're like, oh, we're going to let everybody out 90 minutes early. And so I know that's probably throwing a lot of moms off. It's thrown me off, and so you're always going to have that stuff that comes up. But I think for me, penciling in that time to know that the majority of the days, this is when I'm going to do it. and then just getting it done.
So I love that you said pencil because I did too. In my notes, it was one of my big advice things is, the week before that Sunday night, Saturday, what it is, look at the schedule. Look, I'm not saying disregard what your family's schedule is. Look at what your family schedule is. Look at what your work schedule is. And then find the most realistic time where excuses cannot be made to put that workout in.
Right.
So for some people, if you're a morning person, then it is going to be getting used to waking up an hour before your kids get going.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a struggle at first.
Right.
But it is so rewarding afterwards. And then there's also going to be the people that say that's not feasible. And I get excuses all the time. And that's kind of my job is to help them work around those.
Yeah.
And so we look at, okay, if morning is not feasible at all, what does your night look like? Do you get out of work at 4:30 or 5? And if you do, don't go home.
Right.
If you have the support at home or
Yeah.
can carpool or work around with some people, go straight to the gym, pack your clothes because 9 out of 10 times once you go home, you're not going back out or you're not going anywhere else to work out in your house, right? So that's one of the things that I use to help. I talk to people, talk them through that. Another thing is I'm constantly getting, men and women, I can't do it in the morning because I have to do X, Y, and Z. And I get off work at 5. My kid has to be at practice at 5:30, right?
Yep.
Where's your kid practicing? Are they practicing on the soccer field? Are they practicing on the football field? Because if they're outside, you can be outside walking, or running or doing something. Take the dog with you. And the same thing, even if it's indoor, I've had clients now that and friends, they found a way to drop their child off, either work out there or, run home real quick, get a 30-minute workout in.
Right.
Find a bike path. We have these awesome soccer fields here in Springfield, and there's a running path, a bike path right behind it. So you park your car, you can go do that.
Exactly.
So we can eliminate some of those excuses right there and find a way. And if you aren't motivated, talk to somebody, another parent on that team, and you guys go do it together.
Yeah.
Because even if it's just walking, it's better than just sitting and watching.
For sure.
So those are some of the things that I've come up with when it comes to helping people work around them, and lunch breaks too. Fortunately, where our gym is located, we have a lot of people that have that time that they can come down, take a 30-minute class or get a 30-minute workout in, and they still have wiggle room to change their clothes and get back to work.
Yeah. And I just want to, I'm glad you're saying the 30-minute thing because I was actually going to bring that up. So most days I try, and I know you're the same, I try and get in an hour workout, but some days that is just not going to happen. And Tuesday of this week, I had a really full day and I was trying to think, kids, I've got to be out the door with the kids to school by 7:25. I needed to be at work early that day. That evening, it was going to be full with football practice and all. So it's where am I going to fit it in? And I thought, okay, I'm not going to fit in a normal hour workout. I'm going to find 30 minutes. So I got up at, I think 5 that day. And because I'm usually anywhere between 5 and 5:30 is my get up time. And I'm always, you know me, the first thing I do is my coffee and my Bible. That's where I'm going first thing. But that morning I was like, okay, I'm going to do coffee and Bible for the first 30 minutes. And then by 6 a.m., I'm on the treadmill and I'm just going until 6:30. Yeah. And that's all I could get in that day. But it was better than just saying, you know what, the day's too full. Because what I found is, and I've been in, points in my life where I would do this. If you make an excuse for one day, well, it's easier to make it the next day, and then the next day, and then before you know it, you're going weeks at a time with maybe only exercising once or twice here and there, and then it just becomes very easy to get in that excuse way of thinking. Yeah.
And on the flip side too, if somebody were to come up to me and say that, and the way I make my schedule is if I see that busy day, that's my rest day.
Yeah, and you have told me that before, and that's a good strategy.
It's huge. I have a lot of people say, why do you, work out on a Sunday, or don't you take the weekend off? No, I can find more time to squeeze that in. And so typically for me, Thursday or Fridays, because I'm, work is the hardest. I'm loaded up, with clients, and my body by that time just needs a rest day anyway.
Right.
And so I've always been that under that mindset that if I'm looking at my schedule, the busiest day that I'm the most active, involved, is going to be the day that I'm going to take a rest day or an active recovery day to mentally give myself a break. And I don't feel as guilty about it. I'm constantly moving.
Yeah.
And it's just, it seems to work out better. And I think a lot of people have found that way too.
Yeah. And I like that. That makes sense to me too, because it's like if you have a day that's jam-packed, then why not just kind of, but as long as you're not making excuses all the other days of the week, and I think it does come down to just being strategic with your calendar and your planning and having a little bit more preparation as you go into each week. So I think that's very good advice. So speaking of excuses, because I know like you and I are pretty consistent, but how do you not stay, how do you stay away from the excuse like thinking, getting in that pattern of, I'm just going to not do it today or whatever.
Yeah. So me personally, I do a lot of reflection. I do a lot of reflection of how do I feel when I don't do it? Yeah. When I don't work out, how does my body feel and react? But like that early morning, because, I have those early morning clients that will, just come in or they just say, I can't do it. I didn't sleep well last night. And sleep is huge. I am not denying that. Sleep is huge. We need our sleep on a regular basis. But if we have that one night where we didn't sleep well, chances are that extra 30 minutes of sleep isn't going to make that big of a difference. If anything, getting up and at least personally, I know this, and I've talked to my clients enough, and they're starting to see it. They don't do it to me as often anymore, but they know too that like it's not going to matter. Just get up and work out. Right. So we do that like 5-second thought process. Like you lay in bed and you think to yourself, like, how am I going to feel if I don't get up? How am I going to feel? And I literally do. Or some people count 1, 2. Yep. I know for me is when the alarm goes off, I also just grab my phone and the light on that just kind of brightens my eyes and I kind of look at the temperature and I talk to myself. You have to talk to yourself, right? Yeah.
Like get up.
So that is for me 100% how I don't get into that excuse mindset. But I also will sit there and think, okay, if I cannot work out right now, when am I going to do it? And if there's no other better way, then you get up. Right. But if you know already that you can squeeze it in, you have a gap or your kids don't have activities in the afternoon or evening, then that's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I don't think we're saying be rigid with yourself or don't ever allow yourself to take a day off, because that's, if you adopt that mindset, then your consistency is probably not going to last that long because you'll just get burnt out. You absolutely have to be flexible with yourself and graceful, grant yourself grace. Don't be hard on yourself. That's not what we're suggesting at all. But I think holding yourself accountable, and I do the exact same thing, like with the whole excuses, like I will automatically think, well, okay, I'm really comfortable right now, especially in the winter. It's so hard. It's like cold outside, you don't want to get out of bed because it's warm, it's comfortable. But I'll think to myself, how are you going to feel around 3:30, because that's when we all crash if you don't get up and get your blood pumping. And, the answer is always, I'm not going to feel very good. I'm going to be kicking myself for not getting out of bed. So that kind of boosts me out of bed, to get it going. So with exercising, obviously, comes the eating part of it. Because a lot of people think, well, if I just exercise all the time, then I can eat whatever I want. But that, speak on that.
Well, just like exercising is a habit, like eating healthy has to be a habit. And we can't, using those excuses all the time, well, I'm always on the go, or I just like food too much. You're not going to see the progress. You're going to be working out, and seeing little progress and little return. And I see that consist a lot. But we do need to give ourselves grace. So, find that day that's the most hectic, or the day you're going to be most social, and give yourself that free meal, that indulge. We are not perfect. I am not perfect. I like to go out, and enjoy the same foods that everybody else does. And for me, it's a reminder of how I feel afterwards, because 9 out of 10 times, though, too, when I do go out and indulge, I feel sluggish and I feel sick to my stomach the next day, And so I build things around, like we set ourselves up for success with meal prepping in our house, and knowing right now our daughter is really involved, with volleyball, and we've got football practices on the off nights. And so we know that going into it, and we pack salads, and we're the weirdos at the volleyball game that have these burritos wrapped up.
I saw Jeff's picture. Yeah.
Those Olay burritos, and we help each other out with that too, like by prepping them real quick before we go. But it really saves us from hitting the concession stand, hitting a fast food place on the way home, eating too late, because these are all these excuses that keep adding up. They'll say, well, I do eat well, but I ate dinner at 8:30 that night, and then I went straight to bed. Well, that's not good either.
Right.
We need to stop eating 2 to 3 hours before we go to bed, if possible.
Right.
But so those are the things that you just kind of strategize and find what you like. Right now, our go-to meal is been Olay high fiber type burrito wrap. You can do the grain-free ones if you want, the cassava ones, and then avocado, grilled chicken, spinach, and then it's either some kind of sauce, like whether it's mustard or it's the Noble Made. We try to stay away from like the ketchups and the mayonnaise and things like that, and wrap it. And it's fulfilling. You've got your protein, you've got some good fiber carbs there, and some vegetables when you add that in. And it's easy. If we want to take some carrots with us, we can. And then when we're at home, our go-to then is going to be a lot of times is some kind of lean meat, roasted vegetables. And then if we add a carb in at night, it's going to be like a sweet potato or sweet potato fries or, rice. But we do sometimes change it up.
Sure. Yeah.
So what about you guys? What about you? You're a big salad person.
I am a big salad person, but I've gotten on this kick lately. I've literally, I don't know, like the last 4 or 5 months. So I do the Wassa crackers, which are really low carb, but they've got fiber in them, and they're just, I don't know, because I like crackers. I like that crunch, it's hard.
It makes you slow down.
Yeah. And you kind of feel like you're having like a little bit of a, not a treat, but
it's almost like a crouton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's like, I have some crunch to my food. Yeah. But I've been doing that I'll take the crackers and I put the hummus on top. And then I'm a huge hard-boiled egg person. Like I literally eat probably 3 to 4 hard-boiled eggs a day, which I've told you about that before. And you're like, I don't think I could do that.
but everybody has their own thing.
It's so easy for me. Like I have like my eggs in the fridge right here. And if I get hungry mid-afternoon, I just go grab an egg, put a little salt and pepper on it. And it's like, I'm good. But I will take those and put them on the cracker with the hummus. And then I do the Cholula hot sauce with a little bit of avocado. And I usually have like the mini sweet peppers or the carrots kind of on the side. And that is literally my lunch. Like I'm one of those people though that I eat the same thing over and over and over again. And then I'll get tired of it and I'll switch it up. But that's kind of my go-to because it's like not a lot of ingredients. It's easy to make. I can bring it here to work and have my stuff in the fridge. But I do a lot of like salads with protein. I mean, it's pretty basic, you know. Yeah. But we almost always for dinner, it is a healthy protein with vegetables. Like that's kind of just, it is, But that to me is it tastes good. It's fulfilling. There's a lot of different ways to make vegetables. Yeah. Like nutritional yeast, I think is awesome on vegetables, adds that flavor. So I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that you can get creative with healthy food.
So let's stop right there because I know in talking to people, they're going to say nutritional yeast. Yeah. Right.
Like what is that?
So what is that? And other than looking like fish food.
It does look like fish food. So
tell them, because I mean, I know it, you know it, but there's a lot of people that are going to say they have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, you have the nutrition background. You can probably.
Well,
Lindsay was in here. He could explain. I just know that it's Bragg's. I use Bragg's brand.
I do too. And
it's a good substitution for like salt and it's a good blend of like seasonings, but tell the people,
well, I was just saying even more so, where can you find it? You can find it, in the regular grocery stores.
Yeah, you can.
So that's, I mean, so they know that. And it's used to supplement in a lot of baked goods. Like when people make their own homemade like cheese type sauces. Yeah. Or even I think people have been using it in like pesto sauces and stuff. Right. So it's a good alternative to have instead of like Parmesan cheese or other type of ingredients.
Right.
So
same kind of thing with like the coconut aminos.
Exactly. Instead of soy sauce.
Yeah. To just get rid of all that sodium. I mean, there's so many things that you could we could probably do a whole podcast on that.
Like, on where to find them in the grocery store.
Yeah. And to get the things to substitute out. But it's all those little adjustments. But you can, I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't have to eat bland and boring to eat healthy. You know, you can make it taste good. And I know you guys do the same thing all the time. So yeah, it's just, and so I did food prep. I need to get better with my food prepping. I know you like are really good at this. You do this pretty much every Sunday, but there is like, it's the whole thing with exercising. When you food prep and you've kind of got your stuff for the week, I feel very like accomplished. Like I feel very organized. I feel very prepared. And then also like on the days that I'm super busy, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I don't have to go home and cook. Like I literally just have to pull it out of the fridge, and I may have to do a little something extra for the kids because they're not going to eat like
everything
roasted Brussels sprouts really. But you know, it takes the weight off going home and cooking a huge big meal.
We even prep for our kids. And our kids prep for themselves. But I mean, they tell us what they want in general. Yeah. But they have a vegetable and they have a lean meat or something of that sort, and they get to choose what they want, but it gets prepped. In fact, you know, sometimes, and that's one of Addison's chores to do instead of like whether it's, you know, vacuuming or cleaning up the dog do. She has to prep 2 things for her and her brother for the week because she likes to cook. Yeah. Right. And so she'll ground up her own meat. And if she wants to add in a good taco seasoning for it to do that, then she decides from that ground meat, she can change up her own meal plan, whether she has, you know, actual tacos or she'll have a taco salad or, you know, my son will just eat it plain. Yeah. So you have different options there.
When you meal prep like on Sundays, how long are you typically doing that? Like
that's a good question. So meal prepping, depending on how organized you are with your ingredients and the chopping and things, it could take 2 hours, and for us, we're fortunate that like our kitchen goes straight, you know, into the living room. So I always feel like I'm still with the family. Yeah. Right. So it just depends. It depends on how extravagant of a meal I am preparing. Yeah. It could take 2 hours. It could be like hit and miss, 1 hour here, 1 hour there. With the Instapot, you know, that's a game changer. I can walk away, you know, throw it in and I can start it earlier in the week, but you throw in 2 chickens, walk away, come back 30 minutes later, throw in your sweet potatoes, walk away. Yeah. So you get other things done. You can go be active with your kids. You can even leave the house. You know, we did that last night. Right.
Yeah. So, and then you gain all that time during the week that you're not cooking.
And you stay so much more on track with, I'm getting a bad habit of, if I go home and I don't have anything prepared to grab out of the fridge and start eating while I'm cooking, I'm nibbling. And that's mindless calories. And I know I'm not the only one doing that. Oh, yeah. Right?
Yeah, no, I do the same thing.
So it's so much better because you're not getting those mindless calories that we forget about that we just had, whether it's carrots and dip while we're letting everything else reheat or heat up or make. Yeah. So.
Right. Exactly. I love it. So as we're like I said, when we opened up, school's getting back in, you know, we're a couple weeks into school. I think some people are starting back this week, whatever it is. And I'm not trying to exclude men, but I know moms particularly are always like, how can I fit my workout in? You know, what's your advice as far as getting back into the school routine? And we touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but is there anything else that you would say to moms? Because I know, like you were saying, well, at practice, you know, you could be doing this while they're practicing, but there's a lot of moms even that, you know, maybe they have kids in school, but they also still have babies at home or little ones at home. And I've seen some moms come into the gym that I like want to give kudos to because they're bringing their babies in the car seat and sitting them there while they work out, which I think is awesome. But like if you have school age children, but maybe you also have kids still at home, or you know, you're just kind of all over the place, what's your advice there?
Perfect. Some of you guys already know it. You've already heard me tell you this. So one is obviously the very first advice is going to be verbally tell somebody your goal. Like, I want to work out. I need to get in, and tell somebody that's going to hold you accountable. Don't tell your 5-year-old child, right? Don't tell them. And maybe don't even tell your spouse or somebody else that you know that fitness isn't important to them. Tell somebody that you know is going to hold you accountable. Or I have people that literally I've never talked to and they call, and that's the biggest step for them is they have to call a personal trainer, or they have to call the gym and say, this is what I want to do. This hopefully this person's going to hold me accountable, right, to get me in. So that's the biggest thing is telling somebody and asking them, like having them encourage you. Now, the young moms or the people that have that kind of obstacle, and it doesn't have to be a gym, because I just had this with a client and I've had this with numerous friends and myself, but that child can go with you. I mean, how much does your child weigh? 15 pounds? Great.
Yeah,
all right?
exactly.
Great. You've got a 15-pound squat now. Okay. When you're at home, maybe it's commercial time. Maybe your kid's cranky, you know, instead of bouncing around, squat. Somebody said, well, I need to just figure out when their nap is. Yeah, but don't you want to enjoy your nap? Like, why don't you just, you know, do your workout when your child's awake too? So the squats we've talked about, I've even put on the baby harness.
Oh yeah.
And my kids have been on me when I've mowed the lawn, push mowed the lawn, you know, and I'm probably going to get somebody that says that's like not right, or there's fumes or something.
Yeah.
Same thing like with, you know, push-ups. I told one girl, I said, why didn't you put your son on the ground and do push-ups over him, and every time kiss him or do something?
That.
Yeah.
That exact thing. Yep.
There's just so much we can think of, or just, you know, we've done wall sits. How many of us have done wall sits before in high school, or just whenever we're, you know, working out, and we've been told to hold a weight out.
Right.
Well, hold that baby out there, right?
Exactly.
You know, and do a wall sit. Now, if your child is more like 4 years old, that may not work.
Right.
But there's definitely things. And when your kids see you doing that, they grow accustomed to it. And so when they are old enough, 4 and 5, they can play, you know, with books and stuff while you're working out. If that means popping in a workout video, you know, a lot of people right now, those jogging strollers are a lifesaver. And walk or jog or lunge or do those things.
Right.
Get out in this type of weather when you can. And include them in it. And then it's going to be second nature, and you're not going to have to worry about babysitting them while you need to work out.
Right. I remember when my kids were little and they were still like in the car seat, and especially if they were fussy, a way to exercise my arms is I would just swing them back and forth, and then you switch arms. They loved it, and it was a workout, you know, for sure. So,
and make it fun for them too, for that matter. Like we bought Addison when she was young, like a wall ball and a box jump, you know, when she was 3 and 4, and she had her own little plastic barbell plates, so she could do her own thing.
Yeah.
Now, does your workout get a little interrupted?
Sure
it does. But is it still better? Thank you.
Yeah. It's better than nothing.
You know, feed into it. Let them be a part of that with you.
Right. Yeah.
So that's my big piece of advice.
I would agree with all of that. One of my new favorite things to do, and you've seen me a little bit, is to bring Garrett, my oldest, into the gym with me, because like if Seth is at football, then sometimes him and we've got an hour and a half, 2 hours to burn. It's like, hey, let's go to the gym.
You mean you don't sit at the practice and watch him the whole time?
I do not. I do not. No, I'm like, let's go burn some. Yeah, we've got some time. Like, let's run into the gym. We'll work out for 45 minutes. We'll go back and pick him up, you know, and it's good for him. And it's also, you know, if you are looking for a way to, I think, build that camaraderie with your child, especially as they get older, and, you know, like he's almost 15, but that's like such a great thing to do together with your kids. You don't have to always be taking them out and spending money or shopping or whatever. Like that kind of stuff is so valuable, you know. And he went with me it's a few weeks ago, and he was kind of complaining. He was like, I do not want to go. And within 15 minutes, he was like really into it. And then when we left, he was like, well, when are we going to come back? So, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I think is so fun to do, you know, with our kids.
I agree.
So now what's your advice, as we're kind of wrapping up here, what's your advice for someone who's starting from square one? So like they have no workout routine. They have no meal prepping routine. They're just kind of like, hey, I need to make a change. But there's so much to do, and it can be overwhelming.
It is, yeah.
So what would you say to them?
So that's definitely finding somebody that's more experienced. Once again, going back to, you know, telling somebody your goals, but you definitely now need to find somebody who's a little bit more experienced. And I say take it slow, but what I really mean is like give yourself grace, right? Don't look at the person next to you and say, well, they just did 20 burpees, or, you know, I have to do 20 burpees on the first day. No, you don't.
Right.
And that's going to make you not enjoy it. And just realize that you're starting at a different place than everybody else, and that's okay. And I think that's the biggest thing people are learning from like the workout classes that I teach, is that there's always somebody like them, or that, we all have different strengths,
Yeah.
And so for somebody just starting out, it's going to be, start doing what makes you happy actively, and find somebody that's going to hold you accountable. I think that, I know I keep saying that. I think that's the biggest thing. It's the biggest
huge,
thing.
yeah.
And finding somebody knowledgeable. You don't want to just go to the gym and look and walk around and say, I don't know what this machine is. Invest in yourself. And if that means invest a little money and a little time in yourself by hiring a trainer or having a friend go with you, do that. Or maybe it's not an option to go to a gym and you want to buy a workout program. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. There's always a modifier, almost always a modifier on those workout videos.
Right, exactly. Lindsay always says something that I think is really just like really good advice for he says it, regarding nutrition, but I think it could be like really for any part of your life. He's like, just do a little. And when you do a little and you get success from those results, you are naturally want to do more. And as the weeks go by, it's kind of like that snowball effect. You just keep building and building and building. And I think that would be my piece of advice for somebody is just find something small that, like, if you look at your week, if it's 15, if it's 10 minutes, if it's like literally I'm going to take 2 laps around the parking lot tonight while I'm waiting on my kids at practice, like just start somewhere because without doubt or without fail, you will feel success from that and you will feel good from that. And maybe you get in the car and it's like, wow, that felt awesome. I'm going to do 4 laps tomorrow night or whatever it is. Yeah. And I encourage people because it is overwhelming. I mean, it's like I could compare it to like cleaning out my closet. Okay. So if I just did this like a month ago. I went into my closet and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's completely unorganized. I hate it. It's making me feel anxious. And to think about cleaning out the whole thing was overwhelming to me. But then when I started thinking, well, I'm just going to clean out my shoe section first. And then I'm going to clean out my t-shirt drawer and get, when I started breaking it up and then you get that one part done and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to do some more. It's the same way with all of this stuff that we're talking about, just starting small and building upon that, So I think that would be, what I would tell somebody.
I agree. And just that energy you get from that 15 minutes, you can tell yourself easily 15 minutes. And then you have that energy. You're like, oh, I can go a little bit longer.
Exactly.
And same thing like with running, you start off running or walking a half a mile. And it's like, oh, I can do a little bit more. Yeah. I agree 100% that we should break it down.
Right. So I think we've covered a lot of good stuff today. Yeah. I'm hoping that, people out there that are wanting to kind of increase their fitness level or just even get started, it'll be helpful to them. So
and I encourage them too, like if they're listening and they say, well, what about this excuse? Reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me. Ask me,
because you're on Facebook. Where can people find you on Facebook? So you've got
Flex Trained on Facebook.
And then they can also just message you personally.
Yep. And on Instagram, Flex Trained as well. And go from there.
Okay. I know you have you mentioned the word empowered. I know you got some cool new t-shirts.
Yes, we have new apparel in for Flex.
Yeah.
I really think, when you feel empowered, you can do a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's that whole mindset.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, thank you for being the first repeat guest. Yes. And I'm sure you'll be back again sometime soon to talk about some more stuff. Yeah. So, okay, cool.